Before the soft vulnerability of Flower Boy, before the experimental mastery of Igor, before the victory lap that was Call Me If You Get Lost, Tyler the Creator was primarily known as a shock artist. A raunchy, over-the-top, did he just say that type figure akin to like early Eminem, but worse, because they had the internet. As he grows and matures and his accolades continue to stack up and newer younger generations discover all of his music, both new and old, at the same time, I think a lot of people forget exactly what Tyler was like when he first entered the music scene. And there isn't a more perfect example of this than one of his first big brand collaborations. I'm talking about his 2013 partnership with Mountain Dew. That's right, Mountain Dew, of all things. Tyler produced a series of 3 ads for the soft drink. Ads that were deemed so racist and offensive, the ads were pulled and officially banned. It's a long story, so strap in as we go over the tale of Tyler the Creator and Felicia the Goat. The year was 2013, and Mountain Dew, a soft drink brand primarily known for like gaming and Doritos, approached the popular rapper Tyler the Creator to collaborate on a series of ads promoting the soft drink. Tyler, an already established name in music and fashion, was seemingly the perfect fit for the kind of edgy, internet-focused advertising that was really popular at the time. It was an innocent enough idea, but things started to quickly derail, starting with Tyler's concept. His big idea for Mountain Dew? Felicia the Goat, a crazy, vulgar animal that loves Mountain Dew and attacking people. According to Tyler, the entire concept was made up 5 minutes before the pitch meeting. In his own words, he described it as, alright, it's a fucking goat, right? It's a goat and he's going to drink the fucking Mountain Dew and he's gonna yell at the lady and the cops are gonna pull him over and then he's going to be in jail and then he's gonna do PCP. That was verbatim. The PCP part didn't make it in, but pretty much everything else did. Now, not surprisingly, not even Tyler thought that this concept would get the green light. He described it as, quote, I'm so used to people saying, that's fucking, I'm not saying the R word. And I'm looking at Clancy like, yo, are they serious? And they actually liked it. Clancy, of course, being Tyler's manager. Already, this is reading like a sitcom. Like, this is a crazy situation. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of the advertising world entirely, but I do know that clout and fame are powerful tools. Powerful enough to even greenlight a stupid goat commercial idea. And artist clout specifically lets people get away with a lot of stupid stuff for the sake of, you just don't get it, he's a genius. But people aren't always geniuses, as we will soon find out. Mountain Dew ended up giving the go-ahead for Tyler to produce a series of 3 ads. And what followed was an ad campaign so controversial, it had to be literally pulled from television. So you may be thinking, okay, how did Tyler take this half-baked 5-minute concept and develop it into an actual ad campaign? Well, the answer is, he didn't. The ad campaign is quite literally verbatim from the quote I read earlier. The campaign centered around Felicia the Goat, voiced by Tyler himself, in a series of envelope-pushing situations. The first ad, which I consider the most tame and kind of funny, I guess, shows a couple eating a nice meal in a nice restaurant. One of them points out Felicia in the back, who's in the middle of verbally attacking the waitress to get some Mountain Dew. When they finally get it, we get the classic soda shot of them drinking it, you know, Popeye style, but instead of some heroics or a cool power-up, the goat just attacks the waitress. The ad just ends abruptly, and we're all kind of left wondering what we just watched. Also, the slogan, "You're never gonna catch me," is played at the end of all of these ads. I think that was like the cohesive thing, is like, you could never catch the goat. It really doesn't translate. This was the only one to actually air on television, as the rest were just distributed online. And actually, the campaign was off to a really strong start, receiving a lot of positive feedback. Some outlets even calling it the best ad ever. And honestly, I can see why. In the early 2010s, this kind of random LMAO humor was all the rage. BuzzFeed was at like the peak of cultural relevance. I mean, a talking edgy goat that loves Mountain Dew? How could it fail? And then it failed. Look, the second ad wasn't too much of an escalation. Like in the original pitch, this ad features Felicia getting a DUI, or a DUI as they cleverly call it. The ad opens with Felicia already pulled over and what I can only describe as visibly intoxicated, blurred vision, bottles of Mountain Dew all over the floor. It isn't looking good. They then tell the cop not to check the trunk as they know their rights. Shocker, the cop goes to the trunk and finds it filled with empty Mountain Dew bottles. He then proclaims the infamous DUI line and goes to arrest Felicia, who was already running away. The ad ends there, and I guess it makes sense now that they're screaming, "You're never gonna catch me." Like maybe the ghost just going around and causing chaos. I don't know. We only have one left, and I'm still really confused. And I still aggressively do not want to drink Mountain Dew. Okay, so these 2 ads on their own were generally okay, a little edgy. The public response was like lukewarm positive, and the ads were kind of just floating by under the radar. And honestly, if the campaign ended here, I don't think we'd have anything to talk about, because it was ultimately the third and final ad they produced produced that caused the entire campaign to face public backlash. The ad opens up on a police lineup. A woman, the waitress from the first ad, is picking out the person that assaulted her from the lineup. Already a really weird and dark situation. Everyone in the lineup is human, except for Felicia the goat. This is where it's supposed to click that this is the waitress, and this is what Felicia did to her, which, shock comedy aside, is really dark. She's emotionally damaged, shaking and crying, and that's when Felicia begins taunting her, telling her that he did it and they'll never catch him. Meanwhile, the officer, holding a Mountain Dew bottle, makes a series of weird, offhanded comments about just picking somebody from the lineup. Felicia then says the darkest line in the entire campaign, saying that when he gets out of there, he's going to, quote, do her up.
I'm gonna get out of here and I'm gonna do you up.
And this was just the final nail in the coffin. There's only so many takeaways you can have from this line, is all I'm saying. And the fact that they use this as like the time to do the slogan tie-in is crazy. At this point, the waitress breaks into a complete panic attack, stuttering about how she just can't do it and running off. Again, super dark and like not in a funny way. The officer makes one last weird comment and then the ad ends, ending this strange trilogy with no more meaning or understanding than I had going into it. In fact, I think I'm more confused after watching them than I was before. Now, okay, so before I get into the whole public backlash section, I do want to give my takeaways watching these ads a literal decade after they premiered. The first two made sense to me, okay? They were funny, they were edgy, the goat was raunchy. I mean, the first one was weird for a moment, and the second one was just like a stupid DUI joke, but product of their time. But the third ad, I'm just genuinely blown away that it got made at all. Not only does it have nothing to do with Mountain Dew, it's just weird. From the joke being a goat taunting its victim from the police lineup to the weird do you up line, it's just all too much. And it's even more frustrating knowing that this was just a stupid idea he came up with in 5 minutes that Mountain Dew just threw money at, and soon the public had opinions. It all kind of got kicked off with an article from American political commentator and author Boyce Watkins. He was not a fan of the ads. In fact, in the article, he called it the most racist ad in history and accused Mountain Dew of committing, quote, corporate racism. I won't read the whole thing here, but I'll link it down below. It was scathing. Actually, I can't because the article has been taken down, which I'll explain later in the video. He pointed a majority of the blame to PepsiCo and Mountain Dew, making points about the police lineup only including stereotypes of black men and the possible takeaway of comparing them to being on the same level as an animal. No matter how you feel, I think we can all agree this is a legitimately bad look. And this cop character isn't helping. Tyler, he did not take this situation in stride. In a series of old tweets, you can kind of map his reaction in real time, and he handled it pretty much entirely defensively. One of his biggest gripes being that people didn't realize that the girl from the last ad is the waitress from the first, which, whose fault is that, bro? Like, I didn't even connect that from my first watch. Meanwhile, the negative media storm was blazing, and Mountain Dew had found themselves smack dab in the middle of a full-blown PR crisis. So, in the most corporate move ever, they quickly and swiftly released an apology and then pulled all of the ads from television and the internet, including Tyler's personal channels, making this ad lost media, technically. Okay, quick sidebar, I didn't actually know this when I was recording the video, but in the process of editing, I found their actual tweet, and I have to highlight this because, oh my, this is such a 2013 thing. Hey guys, made a big mistake. We've removed the offensive video from all our channels. Hashtag fail. Corporate stuff is so weird, man. Also, these new check marks just look so ugly. Okay, anyways, back to the video. And that pretty much put out the fire. I mean, there wasn't a lot to talk about after that, but it was a really bad look for everyone involved. So you might be thinking, what about Tyler? Surely he made some big, bold, crazy response to this, right? Well, he ended up going on Hot 97 and discussing how he felt about the situation.
I'm out here like, don't do drugs. I'm trying to tell kids like, yo, like, don't f up. Like, I'm out here not promoting up shit. And for someone like that to look past all of that and point out some bullshit like that, fuck Boyce Watkins. He a bitch. And his daughter a fan.
Okay, good. I'm glad it went that way.
And even though his delivery could have been better, it's clear that Tyler was hurt. A more PR-friendly response was put out by his manager, Clancy, apologizing to anyone offended and clarifies some things about the ad, like the fact that the actors in the police lineup were all Tyler's friends who just happened to be available that day, which is a pretty important distinction and really makes this whole thing feel less of a deliberate act of racism and more of an unfortunate coincidence. This is a good time to point out that not everybody was offended by this ad. In fact, a lot of people pushed back, claiming that it wasn't offensive and it was just a silly, goofy idea, and people calling it offensive was an overreaction. I'm not in any place to tell people how to feel, but I really do feel like this was just like a silly, stupid idea and not anything purposefully hateful. Tyler never really released a statement of his own, but he did go on to talk about the experience in the now infamous Pink Hoodie Paintball Noisy interview, where he goes on to say,
dude, like, seriously, I don't know. Thought it would be funny if a goat
just yelled and wanted some Mountain Dew. Like, give me Mountain Dew. Like, you can't say that on TV, but we all get it. He was like, give me more. Yeah. But you're never gonna catch me. I've been saying that joke for like the past 5 years.
And with this information, taking everything into account, the whole narrative becomes clear. This was a stupid, half-baked idea that got made into a series of commercials. So I guess the only question left is, how? How did this happen? I think a lot of legacy brands were threatened and confused by this new internet era. No one quite understood it, it moved a mile a minute, and it was deciding everything. People like Tyler were deciding everything. So I could totally see some executive with like a cigar being like, we need to get in touch with this kid. They set up a meeting and, knowing nothing, just blindly greenlights the first idea he pitches, throwing money at him and just giving him full creative control. And from Tyler's perspective, he was just this edgy kid who suddenly got the reins from a major soft drink brand to produce his dumb idea he came up with in 5 minutes. It was just the perfect crossroads between corporate naiveness and Tyler's meteoric rise. And honestly, he made something that was more blatantly offensive than interestingly shocking. That's really all there is to it. Now, I do think a lot of this boils down to Boyce Watkins releasing that article, as that did seem to shift the tides of the conversation. He saw a problem and he called it out. And although Tyler didn't respond in the best way, it wasn't technically off-brand for him either. And with that, this story pretty much comes to a close. Mountain Dew moves on after cutting ties back to the gaming subculture where they really struck it big. It's also important to note that there was some sort of resolution between Tyler and Boyce Watkins, at least on Boyce Watkins' side. He tweeted out, "Studied your music, I have an altered perspective. Still could do without the ad, but I think you were well intended. #respect. And this is great, this is the best outcome. And as far as I can tell, the article was taken down. All the links are dead links, and I was only able to access it by using the Wayback Machine. So I want to make it clear that I'm not trying to re-stir up controversy here. This happened a decade ago. But the most interesting part of this whole situation is we get to look at it through the lens of who Tyler is now. A respected artist, a super producer, multiple Grammys under his belt, one of the most powerful forces in culture, but he still, to this very day, reps Felicia the Goat as his social media handles. Which, if you didn't know why before, now you know. Now you have to subscribe. But I will say the story does have the perfect ending. Final proof that Tyler ultimately won. And that's because in 2021, Tyler once again collaborated with the soft drink company to produce an ad. Only this time he was working with Coca-Cola, and if that isn't the ultimate mic drop moment, I don't know what is. So if you have any takeaways from this crazy story, just know that change is possible. Even for somebody who produced an offensive banned Mountain Dew ad. So go out there and make stuff. Just maybe don't involve offensive goats.